Texas beat A&M last night 17-7. I was there. I was on the sideline for this one. Kyle Field delivered, and it didn't matter. Not to be a downer. This one gets 2.5 Chali on the 1-5 rating. I know Texas fans loved it. I think for the rest of the country, it was pretty ho-hum. They kept on waiting for the volcano to erupt, and there was a pick six. And I happened to be in the A&M press box when that happened last night, by the way. I'm normally on the field. I had ventured up there to scavenge some food. Man, that press box sways so much. I can't believe that's safe, but the engineers tell me it's okay. It's sound. You may have noted over the past few weeks when I talked about Texas that I had a certain theme, a certain tone that I took about Texas. And, you know, they were putting 20 on Arkansas, 27 on Vanderbilt. And I was like, yeah, okay, I wish I could see more from the offense. But this team, there's still something else there. There's still another gear there. And if they peak late, this team will win it all. This team will win the national championship because I think that highly of the personnel Texas has. Well, could it be that they are peaking? Just they're peaking as a football team, not necessarily as a highly explosive offensive unit. Makes a little more sense now that we start putting the full puzzle together. The offense struggle has kind of been a feature in every game. Like I said, they scored 17 last night, plenty enough to win. They scored 20 against Arkansas, plenty enough to win. They scored 27 against Vandy, set Vandy up in favorable field position. So they did plenty enough to win without hanging 45, which is the great misconception about Steve Sarkisian. Or maybe it's not a misconception. Maybe he's just evolving who he is. The old perception was Sark teams need to score a lot to win. Well, they don't anymore. They don't anymore because he is ascending as a head coach. They're ascending as a program. And I'm going to tell you the surest sign of that. I've said the same thing at times about Heupel at Tennessee. The surest sign that a program is in rapid ascension mode is when they start to excel in areas foreign to the head coach's identity. Sark's an offensive guy. This may be the best defense in the country. Sark's an offensive guy. Special teams are great at Texas. So that's not his forte. So what we have sometimes around the country is a glorified coordinator masquerading as a head coach because he was so good in that coordinator role, but really the program is just a big reflection of his side of the ball, his identity as a coordinator. That is not Texas. That's not Texas. That's a very good thing because that means you got more than just a team on your hands. You got a program that's bubbling up and ready to explode. At 14-0, I felt this game was over. You could feel it on the field. There were going to need to be defensive plays and special teams plays, both of which A&M got, that kind of kept it within arm's reach, but it really felt out of reach, man. Texas's defense allowed 244 total yards in here, 2.9 yards per rush. They pitched a shutout. The only points, like I said, were a pick six. They forced 2 turnovers, 3 sacks, 6 tackles for loss. It sounds a lot like what Georgia did to them a few weeks ago in Austin. They held A&M to 4 of 14 on 3rd and 4th down. So can Texas scale up? Remember, that was a question that we were asking last week. Can they scale up? Well, what I meant by that is can Quinn Ewers make the kind of throws he made against Bama last year? He made one of them last night. They didn't need him. They just didn't need him. They could have afforded to score less than 17. If they really needed to, they could have buckled down and won this game 10-9, 13-9, something like that. I have now come to appreciate the concept that I need about a 6 out of a 10 from Texas offensively, and they can win any game remaining on their schedule. That counts Georgia, and that counts anyone they play in the playoff. If that defense comes to play at an A level, you give me a 6 out of a 10. Offensively, that'll be good enough. It just won't be good enough to hang 45. But you see, if you only give up 17, you don't need to hang 45. Stats and info tell me you need about 20. You need about 20. That'll be good enough. In fall camp, I thought they may be screwed. When they had those 2 tailbacks go down, I thought they may be screwed. I had a coach hit me up and say, they're still going to be good, still got studs all over the place. However, they've been disproportionately hit in one position group, and that was running back. What are they going to do in short yardage? I mean, could Quinn Ewers be their best option on 3rd and 3 or less, 4th and 2 or less? Who's going to pick up the tough yards for him? Who amongst us even knew about Mr. Wisner there? 33 carries last night? In a month, Josh? No, in an evening. 186 yards, 5.6 yards per carry. This right here is depth, and this right here is development. Sark, I was standing 5 feet from him in his post-game press conference last night. He said, we got a lot of 4 and 5 stars on this team, man, but Wisner's not one of them. He's just a program guy. And about a month ago, we looked at the path ahead. We knew we were going to have to run the ball better. We challenged the team. They accepted the challenge, and you just got guys stepping up. That's just depth. That's depth that's in very short supply around the country right now. Meanwhile, Texas has got folks stepping up that I don't even think most Texas fans expected to step up. He's built a program. They're elite on defense. I got to speak to this again. I said it when they played Michigan. I think that's the last time I saw them in person. But I saw them again last night. They are the closest thing outside of Kirby Smart's Georgia teams that I've seen to Saban's vintage Bama teams in the way they carry themselves. It's not a guarantee they'll win any game. It is a guarantee that just the militaristic, ultra-aggressive, but at the same time robotic approach to playing means there's not going to be a ton of volatility and variance. They're just going to bring the same thing every week. Now, you can beat them. They're not invincible. No one is this year. But it is such a supreme compliment. And it's such a supreme pleasure to watch them. I can't explain it, guys. You'd know it if you could see it. If you could see it from the vantage point that we're blessed enough to see it from. And if you could see the other teams that we've been blessed to see in the past, there is a certain athletic profile that doesn't look like any other team. You're just bigger and faster and stronger than everyone, but you're also, there's no looseness. There's no extra fat. It's all just meat. And it's all moving in the same direction. Meat moving in the same direction. What more could you really ask for? But it's just so buttoned down. They didn't have chronic false start issues last night. I mean, how many other teams have you seen this year get swallowed up in environments like that? A lot of talk going into that thing. Texas, man, they hadn't played in a venue anywhere close to this big this year. They didn't care. They walked into Michigan earlier in the year. Now, I know you guys don't think much of Michigan, even after yesterday, but they walked in there and they played their style and just bludgeoned them. They crowbarred them in the knees, and they relished it. And then they walked in there last night. And how better to clinch your first trip to the SEC championship game in your first year than to do it in College Station? And they do it, and then they almost look around and say, what's the big deal? I mean, of course we did it. What else was going to happen? Were we going to lose? Or were we going to struggle with the environment? They're ultra-disciplined. There is such a credit to that, and then there's such a challenge to maintain that. It's like if you take a quarter and you flick it on a table. Initially, it's so tight and it's spinning. It looks like it's never going to fall, but it can hit the least little grain of sand or imperfection on the table. It starts wobbling, and all of a sudden, tails. Man, that thing was spinning good just a couple of minutes ago. What happened? Well, it's hard to maintain that. Just like it's hard to maintain that caliber of play, that level of play in a season, much less over the course of several seasons. That's the challenge there. The consistency in performance. It's the challenge there. If you're a salesperson and you get on a hot streak, you maintain that thing for 5 years or 5 weeks. Most of the time it's the latter. It's not the former. Teams get on hot streaks all the time. Can a program maintain that? Because the very material that went into that gets poached, and your backups get offered exorbitant amounts of money to go to other programs, and your coaches get elevated from position to coordinator, from coordinator to head coach. And that's why the principles and values have to be what's driving the engine. The head coach and the principles and values. Because if that's what you're selling to folks and that's what they're buying when they come there, I don't care if you're a player or you're a coach or you're a staffer or you're a recruiter or you're a nutritionist or you're on sports science or you're in strength and conditioning, that's how you maintain consistency. And that's an unknown with everyone, Texas included, and that's getting ahead of ourselves. But that's what I'll pay attention to. I said it in August, and then we kind of got into the fog of fall about Texas A&M. I said 8-4 would be good for this Texas A&M team this year. Well, they've gone 8-4. I think it was a good year for them, and I didn't even have any way of knowing that they were going to have the turnover at quarterback. So 8-4 with a quarterback change, I'll take it. Mike Elko, I had some of you second guessing him last night. I'm not really sure what that's about. I know the game didn't go the way you wanted it to. Mike Elko, if football acumen is what you're concerned about with that guy, your concerns will be short-lived. You'll be okay. Talent acquisition and the evaluation of that talent, and then the development of that talent, and then the proper use of that talent, that won't be an issue. I didn't know that that was such a talking point coming out of last night. I get it. You lost the game. Texas is better, guys. That's a roster that you're 2 years away from being able to resemble in the best of times. So he got exposed as having the second best team in the game. If that's exposed, I don't really know what you expected him to do, but I understand. These games mean a lot. I get it. Rivalry's incredible. Texas really they didn't neutralize the environment, but they kept it from exploding on them, and that was key. Highly entertaining place to be and game to be at last night. And that was where the whole new Saturday tour wrapped up our regular season.